Hey, lovely ladies. We are still discussing our identity shift as we are maturing, right? So, if you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, or even if you are younger and you're just looking for some advice, some wisdom, continue to follow me. This is a series, and I consider myself a lifestyle blogger or a lifestyle content creator. So I like to DIY garden, I like to decorate, and so on. So let's continue this series. The roles in your life are changing, okay? And that is that shift that you are feeling. You may not be needed in the way that you once were. That is a hard shift, especially those of us who have formed our identity either around being a homemaker or around work, being the big sister who's always there for everyone else. And as you are maturing and you are getting older, so are other people. All right. So I got my little notes so I can stay on task. So your relationships evolve or they depart. And sometimes we get a little sad when our relationships are evolving or we have to disconnect from relationships and we think something is wrong. For me, I had to learn that nobody is guaranteed to be in your life forever. I think we have heard this by now that people are in your lives for a season. Some people, very few people, are in your life forever, right? Very few, maybe like 5%. But the rest of the people in your life, they are only there for a season or seasons. All right. So as you mature, you are growing out of a role, you are evolving, and so is your roles to different people and the way you show up in life. So you can grieve that, and that'll be a series later on, how to grieve the old you. It's okay. It's okay. So your roles are changing, your relationships are changing. You need to know when the season is over. That's the hardest part. How do you know when the season is over? Because things get different. It doesn't always have to end on a bad note. We do not have to be dramatic about the way we end relationships. Now, because of trauma, and I talk about trauma bonding in my mental wellness group and on my other channel. But on this channel, I try not to get too heavy. But if you like that type of content, right, and if you like that type of information, please leave me a message below because trauma bonding is something that we do even in our best friend relationships. We trauma bond to our supervisors, our work, where we can't break away from a career path that we have chosen or a job that's toxic and we have trauma bonded. You can trauma bond to your church leaders, your religious leaders. It's a whole thing, right? And it's a chemical bonding that you do. So you just can't come out of a trauma bond. People that tell you, oh, you could just come, you cannot just come out of it. There are certain things that you must do. Again, my background is in nursing, right? So I am a mental wellness advocate and I am trauma informed, I guess. I don't like to say counselor, but trauma informed uh, advocate, right? So I'll just say that. So you can trauma bond, but every relationship doesn't have to end bad. So that's my whole point. When we are maturing and when we are shifting, we should understand when seasons of friendship, even jobs, roles in our lives, it could be, ooh, I grew older and I realized that I'm not supposed to be with this person. This person is emotionally abusive. What I find when I counsel people, all right, when I give people advice, I really let them talk themselves into the answer. Good counselors, they let you talk yourself into the answer. They kind of point you in the direction. So, one thing I always ask people, especially people of faith, okay, because we love to hide behind our religion, it is, did the Most High or did God, Lord, Jesus, whatever you want to call him, did he tell you to marry that person? Or how was it right before you got married? Tell me what was going on. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I wasn't supposed to marry him. Ding, ding, ding. So by the time you mature and you get in your 40s and 50s and 60s, you like, I can't do this no more. And my thing with religious leaders, when they counsel, it's okay, but I'm not on this channel to teach about biblical marriage and biblical divorce. You have to watch Hebraic Awakening for that. And with religious people, it's really hard to counsel them at times because they have these dysfunctional beliefs about marriage and divorce. And I don't advocate for divorce because I'm married 18 years. Okay, I'm married and I'm happily married. I'm happily married. So when I give counsel, but I'm not going to give counsel to help you stay in an abusive relationship. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm not. And so when people come to me, I say, Most High, now you already know. When you send that person to me, it is because they need to end something so they can begin something. And that is what I mean by knowing your seasons and knowing when roles in your life are shifting. Your kids grow up. Ooh, I'm a helicopter mom, a recovering helicopter mom, and I gotta really watch it because my children are grown. But I am a helicopter mom. I love being a mom, but I also think trauma makes me want to just hoover over them and make sure they are right. My trauma personality is everybody good? So I'm recovering. I'm healing from that. And I have to let people be. They have their own journey to go on. But your kids grow up. So now you figuring out, what am I going to do? I don't have nothing to do. My whole identity was in my kids. Now you got to find your identity outside of your children and outside of your husband. Your career may plateau or pivot. I just said that in my recent video. I hope you watched it. Identity shift in your 50s. I shifted from nursing to teaching. Okay. And I am so glad I did because I have so much flexibility on this side of teaching and I love it. And my husband, he like, you can work or not work. He is about to retire next year. So he's letting me do my thing, start my homeschool co op business. He's letting me do my YouTube thing, and I can teach or go back to school. He has always been that way. That's just the type of husband I have. Not every woman want that type of husband too. Most women, well, I can't say most. Some women like to work, not most, because most of us, we want a man to help take care of us. We want a man to pay our bills. But some women really, really, really enjoy working. There's nothing wrong with that either, right? There's nothing wrong with that either. So I advocate for whatever you want to do, however you want to show up in the world. It's okay, all right? But you need to know when you need to pivot or when that career has plateaued and you need to do something else. You should desire to do something else, right? So I talk about people who stay in hard labor jobs for 50 years. Sometimes you got to learn how to shift, okay? Right? Backbreaking work in your 60s is not healthy mentally or physically. But I'm going to leave that alone because I know everybody got to do what they got to do. All right? Mortality becomes real. Time is different, not endless, but time is precious. Exactly. Once I turned 50, man, I realized I'm right there in the mid mark of 100. I'm more on the other side of 100, especially when I turned 51. I'm like, oh, right? And you start to think about life and you get real serious about your life and you want to protect your time. Your time is precious. You don't know how many more years you have. A lot of people is going out of here. A lot of people not even able to age gracefully. They're getting taken up out of here in their 30s, their 40s, and their early 50s. So it's like you got to take the time that you have and it has to be precious to you. You have to protect your peace. I know we've all heard that, cliche or not, it is the truth, honey. And you have to protect your peace because your time is valuable as you cross over into your more mature age. What used to define you doesn't feel right. What I mean by this, the reliable friend, your job title, parenting, that identity. So you like, my kids are grown, so I can't be that type of mother to them. Now my role is shifting in the type of mother that I can be to them. So I have to give them space, let them go on their journey, make their mistakes, right? And I'm just there along the way to give wisdom, love, comfort. But what am I doing while they minding their business? Do I have business? Okay. Am I just being in everybody else's business? So this is the time to like travel. This is the time to pick up a new skill or a hobby. I like find you some business. And that is what I tell a lot of women in our age category. You got to find you some business. And most of us don't have none. Not for real. Like we throw ourselves into religion. That ain't satisfied, right? Because religion does not allow you to be free. Okay. I didn't say your faith. I didn't say your belief in the Most High. I said religion. There's a difference. All right. You desire authentic growth. You want less noise and more truth, more peace. So, this is why some people can't take all that noise. Y'all know how we get older and we hear a screaming baby. And we think it's always menopause, my nerves, my back. But it is because now you desire to hear. You don't understand that you're shifting. So you are desiring to hear clear. You want clarity and what you should and should not be doing. And yes, menopause and hormone imbalance will keep us agitated and irritated. However, everyone that gets older, we require less noise. It is to help us to think about the shift, right, that we need to make, what we need to be doing, and how we need to do it. That's why you desire more peace and more clarity. You want to continue to grow. But some of us get caught up in the process and we stay stuck. We stay stuck in that shift and we don't shift over to the next thing. We stay stuck. Well, I don't know what to do with myself. So you're just going around in circles. And what I'm finding is that some older women, a lot of older women are not mature. And I talk about this in my mental wellness group because trauma keeps you emotionally immature. So then I'm looking to hang out with 40 and 50, 60-year olds, and they going through the same problems as 20-some-year olds, making the same men mistakes. Okay, making the same financial mistakes that you made in your 20s, and you in your 50s and 60s is still acting like my 21-year-old when it comes to finances, like didn't learn anything. This is trauma. You have all of it goes hand in hand as we are maturing. But a lot of our women are immature and they're not growing like they should. And I stay away from women like that, not because I think I'm better, but because those women will stunt your growth even if they don't mean to. All right? They don't mean to, but they're immature, emotionally immature. And they bring drama when they don't want to heal. Now, you want to heal? I'm all for it. Nobody is perfect. I am still healing, but I want to grow and I want to continue to mature. I want to offer wisdom and advice. I want when a young lady comes to me, I have something to say and it's going to help her to grow and inspire her to reach a more mature age. Not to be like them women, they show silly. They 50 or 60-year old and they can't even make decisions. They acting like me. All right, so here are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself. What parts of me have I outgrown? What do I want to know? How have I changed? Right? So, what do you want to know about yourself and how have you changed? You can grieve your old self, right? Give yourself permission to evolve. So, we'll talk about grieving yourself in another video, but I really want us more mature women to understand the shift and to understand that our roles are changing and it's okay. Find out who you are now. Find out how to grow into her. What do she like, right? What you liked in your 20s and 30s is not what you're going to like in your 40s and 50s and beyond. And it's okay. You're not in a crisis unless you have created the crisis, right? And that's a signal for you to grow up. So no matter if you're in a crisis or you're not in a crisis and you just feel that shift, it signals you to grow. So please follow me for the next video on maturing, you know, getting older and shifting, right? Identities, right? We're not bipolar, we're not schizophrenic. We are shifting identities and it's okay to evolve. All right. See you soon, ladies.